everyone. We are back for another wonderful episode of the Strategy Academy Speaker Series. As you all know, I have been talking with some very dear colleagues of mine that I have met throughout the years of doing nonprofit management and strategic planning. And today we have for you Risa Wilkerson. How are you today, Risa?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So, Risa is the executive director of Healthy Places by Design. And Healthy Places by Design is an organization that I met very early on in my nonprofit career. I was working at the city at the time, but the work done with Healthy Places by Design really and truly introduced me to the world of strategic planning and really looking at nonprofit infrastructure and how nonprofits have such an impactful role in social justice, right, and social movements and equity across communities. And so, a little bit about Risa. As you know, Risa is the executive director of Healthy Places by Design. And she has actually been doing work for more than 20 years. Okay. And Risa provides overarching guidance and strategic vision to fulfill the organization's mission of advancing community led action and proven place based strategies to ensure health and well being for all. Her 20 years of proven leadership in the healthy communities field places a focus on equity, integrity, and collaboration. She brings extensive experience in coaching and providing technical assistance to multidisciplinary, community based partnerships across the country who are improving health and equity through policy, system, and environmental change strategies. Risa combines her knowledge of nonprofit management, coalition building, community assessment, and systems approaches in order to address social determinants of health. Risa holds an MA from Michigan State, and she is an action driven optimist, abundance thinker, and simplicity seeker. So, Risa, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Strategy Academy Speaker Series. And if you want to talk a little bit more about Healthy Places by Design as well, to give people an idea of the work that you're really doing across the country every single day, that would be great as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, Healthy Places by Design has been around since 2002, so quite some time now. We've been privileged to work with community leaders, residents, partners of all types across the country on, as you said, community-led change. The ultimate goal is to help to create environments that make it easier for all of us to live our best lives. And that has been evolving over the years from an early focus on a couple of sort of issue areas to now just recognizing that there are so many aspects to our health and all the determinants of our health are important. So now our central focus is really helping collective efforts, collaborative efforts to create health and well-being, however that community defines it and in whatever way they want to work on the issues that are important to them.
So, Healthy by Design has done work at the local, state, and the national scale. And you have done work with all types of nonprofits focusing on different types of communities and demographics, rural, urban, ethnic differences, and cultural diversity. So, across all of the work that you have done, and I know that's a huge question, what are the top three characteristics of successful nonprofit organizations you have observed over the years?
It's a great question. And there are so many ways to answer this question. But I think I'll focus on some things that are probably pretty commonly spoken and also super important. One of which is to stay mission focused, of course. So, in every nonprofit, ours included, we can be tempted to sort of follow the money because obviously we need resources to keep going. And the trick is to balance our need for resources with our need to stay very mission focused for the impact that we want to have. So that is one of the top characteristics. Stay mission focused. It can mean making some hard decisions. One small example I have of that is when a foundation asked us to do one slice of a service we do for a program that they wanted to support, but that would mean sort of dividing the resources on our team apart. When typically we like to kind of combine our services and skill sets so that we're really leaning into the work and bringing the best support we can bring to groups. If I had said yes, it would have made it very difficult for other team members, and we would have had less of an impact in the work that we were doing on other projects. So we had to say no to a funder that we were relying on for a lot of our support, but it turned out to be a really good decision. So stay mission focused. The second thing is to be adaptable to changing conditions. And so, we come into the work under certain sort of world, national, society conditions of your own nonprofit. But of course, the world is ever changing, work changes, staff changes. And so nonprofit leaders need to figure out ways to be adaptable to changing conditions. The pandemic being a perfect example, when that came in, and all of a sudden strategies that people had to connect folks face to face weren't going to work anymore for a while anyway. We had to change. The other example would be that, as our team learned with the growing field, learning around the importance of social determinants of health, multiple ways, we had to sort of think about, okay, how do we want to keep having an impact? Do we want to go really deep in one issue area, or do we want to think about the essential practices of community-led change and focus on that? So really being adaptable to changing conditions is the second thing. And the third is take care of your team, take care of your people, right? We can all be so passionate about the mission and about the work that we sort of burn ourselves out. Or we're so focused on being, very efficient with our resources that we stretch our team thin, stretch ourselves thin. We're all trying to do kind of too much with too little. And so, as an executive director, I've always felt like it was important to think about whole life balance for our team and know that we are all, humans with lots of aspects to our lives. We have family, we have hobbies, we have more than just the work that we're doing. And in order for us to all be able to stay with this very important work we do, there has to be time and support for self-care and for people being their whole selves. So we've thought about our work schedules. We've thought about the benefits that we can offer. Some of those benefits don't have to necessarily cost a lot of money. But those things are really important. Investing in continuous learning and growth, which again, can be free webinars all the way to, paid trainings. It can be sharing interesting readings that we've had with each other. It can be engaging in really provocative conversations so that we keep ourselves sharp and thinking that way. And then checking in often with each other, being mindful that, we have what we call temperature checks as a team. So when we come together as a team, first we recognize that there's a lot going on in our worlds, and we give each other a chance to check in with our temperature. So I may say, if I look a little distracted today, it's not because I'm not interested in this topic. This is what's going on in my life, right? Mm-hmm. So it's recognizing that. So those would be my three: stay mission focused, be adaptable to the changing conditions, and take care of your team.
So Healthy Places by Design has worked with over 200 community partnerships, and 200 community partnerships means even more than 200 organizations nationwide. And so what do you think are the best strategies that you all have implemented as a technical assistant and support organization that have produced impactful partnerships?
Oh, that's a great question. We have a whole community action model that people can access on our website that talks about what makes a good partnership. So there's 6 essential practices, and you can look at those and see that there needs to be facilitative leadership, strategic communication, health equity focus. There's many. But I was thinking too about what it takes to be a good partner, right? So what are the things that are important in any kind of a partnership, whether it's a multi-sector and multi-dimensional community-led partnership, or whether it's not 2 or 3 nonprofits coming together to partner to do some work. And what I was thinking of again was with any kind of an effective partnership, you have to have some kind of shared purpose or shared mission or shared values. Like you're all coming together because there's something that you agree you want to do together. And it's important to define what that is and, know the why again, right? Why are we together? What are we trying to achieve? So that alignment of sort of mission and goals is really important. A second thing that's important, I think, is looking at the complementary strengths. What is each partner bringing to the table? And they're, thinking about sort of what are the complementary experiences, expertise, passions that we're all bringing together, and we're going to do better together, right? If we bring these together and we recognize that more perspectives, diverse experiences really make us stronger, make us, able to kind of fill in any gaps that there are and sort of see things from different angles. That's going to be really important. And so then determining clear roles and responsibilities is important. We aren't all there just to give an opinion and walk away. We want to get something done. So who will take on which role, what responsibilities, and that helps us all to sort of lean in and not be duplicative, but also be complementary in the work that we're doing. Um, I think, too, one of the things that is really important and can get forgotten is the importance of nurturing relationships. So, again, we're here to achieve something, but this should not just be transactional. If we're really going to make this work, we need to also, as I mentioned earlier in, good nonprofit leadership, you need to nurture that people are whole human beings. And it isn't just this work we're doing together that matters. It's really supporting each other as people. So we nurture relationships and partnerships. That means you have to sometimes slow down. You have to slow down in order to create trust, in order to get to know each other, to spend a little time in sort of that personal, dialogue. How are things going for you? Learn, what's important to them. This is the way that we're going to work better together. And again, building trust is important for any kind of deep impact that we have, and that just takes time. And I know sometimes that's difficult, especially for sort of type A efficiency minded people. We just want to get done. We just want to get to the work, do
Yes.
something. But it's so important to just slow down for that, relationship building aspect of it, and checking in with each other often, understanding what communication needs each other have, what kind of work styles we have, how we can best help each other do the roles and responsibilities that we have all agreed to, and how can we be supportive in that, so there's a shared sense of sort of camaraderie and sense of team and community. And the last thing I'll say is sharing credit, because that's too often in partnerships. There's a big concern about getting your name as, I need to prove to this funder or that board member that we had this impact as an organization. So my name needs to be on this. But it's important that we talk about this was a collective effort. We're going to share the credit. And even beyond this work that we've agreed to do together, we lift each other up and introduce, each other to others who may be
Right.
helpful to them, even if it's not going to benefit us, because in the long run, we all do better when we all do better. And we have to stay, supporting each other for this deeper impact that we all want to have.
That's right. That's right. A little bit later, Risa, I may ask you to share a story of a project that you feel most proud of, because I really want folks to understand that the impact is tangible, right? And we talk about all of these strategies and characteristics of organizations of how to make it work, but then we need to remember what the end goal is. So I really want you to think about that a little bit as we get toward the end of the conversation. But the next question I have is a big one, right? Because you all also work with philanthropies, right? You work with major funders across the nation. And so a big question that a lot of people I know have is, what are the best strategies that you have seen funders implement over the years that have led to equitable partnerships?
Yeah, that is a really great question. And I'm encouraged. I feel like the that philanthropic leaders are really are really leaning into understanding how to do this better. And there's a lot of conversations right now that I never heard 10 years ago coming from the philanthropic field.
Right.
So I'm pretty encouraged about this, and also know there's a lot of work to do. Personally, our organization has thrived best when a funder who gives us a grant trusts us to do the work, right? Believes that they brought us in for some purpose, right? We had some kind of expertise or knowledge or experience that was going to matter to, and so there wasn't a lot of micromanagement of the grant itself. We've also really appreciated when funders are engaged. There was a time when a funder gave you a grant, you never heard from them again, and then they expected some kind of an amazing report at the end. But there wasn't any help in the meantime. They handed you the money and walked away. More and more now, we're seeing funders who understand that they too have networks, they have knowledge, they have the ability to leverage some of the strengths that they have as a funder to help the project have a deeper impact, and they bring that in. Sometimes that's introducing grantees, not necessarily us, but community leaders, to other funders. Sometimes it's giving some free space for people to convene, or offering some additional capacity building opportunities, that are in addition to the funding that they're providing, and sort of bringing people together for learning and understanding that, embracing learning as one of the key aspects, not just success as we used to define it, but also understanding what didn't work for purposes of learning and going forward. I love the concepts of trust-based philanthropy. That's
Yes.
growing tremendously now, and I think that if folks haven't heard of it, I would encourage people to look into it, because there is a lot there under trust-based philanthropy that undergirds what really makes an equitable partnership between funders and grantees, or other leaders. For example, thinking about transparency, reducing burden on grantees, not creating like all these hoops you have to go through, or super complicated reporting mechanisms, thinking about even multi-year unrestricted funding, where they truly trust that an organization, nonprofit organizations, know what to do and know how to do it, and don't need to convince them of how they're going to do it, but really just provide that. And thinking about equity, thinking about shifting power and accountability in both directions, right? So that they have some accountability to this as well. And just really kind of being that good partner. So those are some of the things that come to mind from our experiences and from what I've seen happening out there in the field.
Thank you. Absolutely. What is your advice to nonprofit leaders? And please share a story of, an account or a story of a project that you feel has had the most impact with what you've done over the years, one that has just stuck with you.
Mm, gosh, one.
One of the many. One of the many.
Oh gosh, there are so many. I think I'll speak to two. And so when you and I first met, we were lucky enough to be the national program office for a national effort called Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities.
Yes.
And what I loved about that was that we had enough funding that we were able to bring significant support in the realm of coaching and technical assistance to community leaders, who are so busy on the ground. It's hard sometimes for community leaders that are doing this fantastic grassroots efforts to have time to read new reports, or think about like what are the resources they need, right? And so having this sort of intermediary organization like Healthy Places by Design enables community leaders to focus on the work they're doing well, and then an organization like us can do some curating of resources and matchmaking and introducing peers from one community to peers from another community, and working with the community leaders to think about what is it that you feel you really need to do this work well, and then trying to figure out how to go about and get those things for the community leaders, right, or with them. And really thinking about who might bring some specific areas of expertise beyond what we have to the collective, and go look for that person or the resource and bring that. So there were so many good outcomes from that particular initiative. And one of the things I loved about it was that years later, we still heard from leaders who'd been part of that initiative that they, were doing the work, and even if the work had changed, they're still in that collective impact work right together. That's been super exciting. And I know our team has stayed in touch with a lot of those community leaders over the years, just because of the relationship building that took place. And the second one is more recent. I'm really excited and proud about that we have partnered with the Council on Black Health to think about how their Black Health Bill of Rights corresponds with a newish report that we had put out called Socially Connected Communities. And in that report, we were talking about some potential strategies community leaders could use to strengthen social connection in community, really reduce social isolation and loneliness. And yet we knew that that was just sort of tip of the iceberg, and there's so much that needs to be learned. And we wanted to work with the Council on Black Health to think about what this would look like in predominantly Black neighborhoods. So we worked in 3 neighborhoods in Charlotte with the Council on Black Health, and went through a series of conversations with leaders to think about what are the assets in your communities, who are the partners you could work with, and what do you all see as the overlay between these 2 documents and these concepts. And had really great conversations about things like strengthening dignity and respect, and recognizing the full humanity of folks in all these areas, and then thinking about how does that translate to placemaking, for example, and bridging divides and bringing people together. We're still real early work. We're still trying to figure out how do we continue building from that work, but it's a relatively new partnership that I'm really proud of, and hoping that we can continue to dive in with them as we look for and find some new resources to support those neighborhood leaders and others in that work.
Well, Risa, is there anything else that you want to share with nonprofit leaders that may be tuning in to hear what you have to say about partnerships and about this work?
I think what I'd love to leave this conversation with is to encourage nonprofit leaders to really do what it takes to stick with this for the long haul, which means significant self-care, creating some boundaries and understanding your why. Yeah. So why are you in this in the first place? And sometimes that why changes, but it's important to know that why for yourself, because it keeps you energized. Create some boundaries, because we can't and shouldn't all work 24/7, just, nonstop on the one or more issues that you're working on. I think giving yourself permission for that rest and self-care, and to do things that might feel a little bit like too indulgent, but like, for example, taking a walk, outdoors in nature and staring at the squirrel or the birds or whatever you see for a little while. A lot of studies show that those kinds of things will spark your creativity and help you to come back with a fresh brain, right? Fresh soul, fresh energy for it. So self-care, boundaries, and knowing your why, critically important. And then, connect up with others who can be supportive of you, peers who can, you can support each other, and not necessarily on your team, but others who are sort of in similar positions as you. I think that's really important too. It really helps you to sort of think about things from different perspectives, and to know you're not alone in the work.
Well, thank you so much, Risa. If you all want to connect with Risa or you want to access the resources that Risa shared with us today, you can visit healthyplacesbydesign.org. Okay. And Healthy Places by Design is not just about healthy places, it's about healthy people, as we have heard today, because that is really what a lot of us are working for is toward environments and people who are healthy. And so, as you all think further about how to improve your nonprofit, don't forget to enroll in the Strategy Academy. Okay. The Strategy Academy, as you know, is a strategic planning platform that guides you through that process. So if you are looking forward to the next 2 to 3 years, this is a great resource for you all to take advantage of. The QR code is on the screen so you can learn more, and also see a quick demo of what the Strategy Academy is. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you so much, Risa, for your time today. And keep moving, keep impacting, keep working, but also take care of yourselves. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.